Hello, guys. How are we? Now, I've got something interesting for you today. Yes, that's right. I'm doing a music interview. So, how have you guys been today? I know I've had some interesting news myself. To be honest, I went for my theory test, yeah, and I passed. So I'm finally gonna drive. Woo! I can't wait for that to happen. But yeah, going back to what I was saying about a music interview, I've got an interesting guest on today. Yeah, that's right. When I say interesting guest, he's actually a famous actor from the Monty Python. Hello, Stephen. What can I do
Hi.
for you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, I can.
Sorry, did I just interrupt your introduction?
You might have done, yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
It's all right. I'll let you off, Stephen.
Oh, sorry about that, mate. Yeah, he's confused. So. All right, go on.
Yeah, so he's famous for being on the Monty Python, actually, and he's interested in his music, like I said in the last video vlog. So let's bring on the guest of the famous Leo Hewitson.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Leo. Hello, Harry.
Say hello.
Hello, Harry. Sorry, I'm very new at this, as you can tell.
Yeah. I didn't get that vibe then when I was trying to get the enthusiasm out of you, Leo. But here we go. So, how have you been today, then, Leo?
I've been really good. It's interesting that you talk about your driving theory. I've had another session today, and I'm hopefully on my way to actually learning how to drive and, having practical skills for once in my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard when it comes to, like I say, Leo, it's always hard when it comes to the driving side of things, because if you're not used to driving, it's like baffling and really baffling on the roads, because you've got to know how to switch lanes and do things quickly and stuff like that, really. But yeah, other than that, great stuff. Now, oh, it's so good to see you, man. How have you been getting on with your acting and stuff like that?
It has been a busy 3 months. Like in the last 3 months, I've basically been doing children's entertainment, which is as fun as it sounds. And
I love that.
it is a lot of fun. And so we've basically been doing shows at the weekends, and then in the weeks we've been walking around as characters promoting our show. So, full get up and makeup, just like wandering about. And it's been real tiring. So this is like the first week I've had off since then, and like, when you have that huge stretch and then all of a sudden it just stops. Your entire body just kind of goes and just kind of starts deciding it likes to shut down in places. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. Like, there's a real innocence in doing just children's entertainment because the kids are all happy, they love it, and you just get to be wacky and silly for a good few months.
Now, you say about children's entertainment, Leo. How do you like? Do you prefer children's entertainment compared to performing in front of adults, or what do you prefer when it comes to acting and theatre? What do you like?
I definitely prefer doing serious stuff. I think just because that's more. There's a lot more you can get out of that. For me, that's a lot more that the actor can get out of that. It's very interesting that for a person to be able to explore those aspects. You can discover a lot of things about yourself, and it's more interesting, especially when you're working with other equally good actors, because then it just becomes so much more like of a rush to actually get out and do it, like especially with theatre, which is unfortunately very limited these days, but one day he'll get back to it. But with children's theatre, the safety is you don't have to worry about being too serious. So you can just let loose and be as silly as you want, and the kids love it. So there's a safety to doing children's entertainment where you can just sort of. The one thing you do have to be careful though is what you say, because obviously they're kids. You can't say anything inappropriate. So if you're gonna let loose, you need to do it in a friendly way. You can't go around unleashing horrible words, so then the parents will look at you and just. I mean, the kids will love it. Don't get me wrong, but also, let's keep it PG.
Yeah, I mean, because when we did, it's like when we did Peter Pan that time, Leo, in college, and you auditioned for Captain Hook, and you put so much energy into that part because you just, I could just tell you you were like easy in enthusiasm with it, and you just absolutely loved what you were doing, and you just had a purpose for playing that role, and it just suited you down to a T. And all the kids like related to you as well. And as soon as it came to the battle, they were like, "Boo!"
Hey, those kids hated me. I remember not being able to get a word in sometimes because I couldn't hear what I was saying because of how loud the boos were. I did get my own back though, because afterwards we went to meet the kids as the characters, and I just jumped out and was just like, "Hello, kids! Who wants to join my crew?" And they were like, "Ah." So I was just like, "Haha, take that."
Yeah, I mean, you played elaborate what part you played in Road, Leo, because you played all different types of characters in college, didn't you? So what was this character you played in Road? Because everyone wouldn't know the likes of Road. So tell us what character you played in Road.
In Roads, the play itself is about this basically nowhere sort of street that's like barren, let down, and all people there are on the dole, that sort of thing. So basically it's a miserable fest. It's a miserable play that tells a miserable story, unfortunately. But the character I played was called Jerry. Now, we changed Jerry significantly. So Jerry was meant to be, in the original script, an old, crippled man who was completely like decrepit and let down. He had been abandoned, basically, and was basically dying. So because I'm not an old man, we had to sort of flip that and change it up a bit so that it made more sense. So we basically turned Jerry into this war veteran who had become addicted to drugs and was just crippled, living out on the streets in constant agony and basically waiting to die. And these last moments were basically meant to be his sort of goodbye speech of, "My life sucks. It has sucked. It's all this person's fault. Let me tell you why because when you find me again, I'm going to be dead." And then we don't see it happen, but there's a bit at the end of the play where like my character is sort of, because we did that big dance at the end, Harry, that big sort of disco kind of club scene. Like my character is meant to be there and he's like dancing and he's like hypnotized by the lights. And then I kind of like slowly am meant to wander off. And the way I interpreted that was basically he's just wandered off to die. Like he's had this big dance and he's like, "Oh my God, that was great. I'm going to die now." And then he just wanders off and he just passes away backstage. It's kind of bleak, but the whole play was bleak. So and also I was like 18 at the time, so I thought I was being edgy.
I mean, you've done a lot since leaving college and obviously uni. I mean, we know each other from the Film Initiative group as well, and you've done a lot with the Film Initiative group. So like you've done that, you've done a short film like Fucked and stuff like that. Now, elaborate on that part that you played with Eleanor. Elaborate that part that you played with Fucked. Like what is that story about, and how did you come across playing that character?
Yeah, in Fucked, it was basically a kid who has killed his dad. He's killed his dad. His dad was an abusive man, and he's killed him in a sort of either a burst of rage or a sense of self-defense. And so now he's like, I've got to get rid of this body. I've killed a man. Oh my God. So he calls his friend, and they both are getting rid of this body. So it ends with them trying to dump it in a cemetery. And the whole sort of point of it's kind of a dark comedy. So the whole point is that it's basically meant to be, how do you get rid of a body in a cemetery? And it sort of plays to that. And then at the end, there's a twist, which I won't spoil just for anyone who might want to check it out. But there's a cool little twist at the end. But the whole point is that it leads up to this really funny line, which is where one of the characters just goes, "We can't just leave a body in the middle of a graveyard." And then there's a pause, and he just goes, "You've heard what you've just said, right?" So I don't know who wrote that one. I think like there's so many talented writers in the Film Initiative that it gets hard to sort of keep track of who's writing what at the minute.
Well, didn't Kai have his like initial input on it? Didn't he actually come up with the idea and didn't he produce the whole thing because he knew what he wanted, didn't he? Like he knew what shot.
I think
he knew what shots, what Graham wanted.
Yeah.
So he might have come up with that idea.
I think maybe it's I think I know that Fucked was meant to be one of 3 projects that we were basically going to work on, and he was basically like, right, this is the order in which we're going to work on these films. Who wants to be in what? And there were 2 films I wanted to be in. One was a project we'd been working on for a while because we had, obviously because of lockdown, we'd had our breaks. And when we actually started getting back to work, obviously we'd have these meetings and everyone would be like, right, well, what film do we want to make next? You know, do we want to make a serious drama film? Do we want to make something that really highlights this particular issue or that particular issue? And then I just I think me and one other person called Bria basically both just went, hey, why don't we just make a comedy? Because we've been doing serious, we've been doing serious stuff like the last 2 films now. Can't we just have a bit of a laugh? And,
you did that film with the puppets, didn't you?
Yeah, Strings it was called. Where that's not been finished yet. I don't know where that is in the editing sort of world, but basically the idea is that we're all meant to be attached to strings, and which let me tell you, for a low budget, obviously film like that, having to come up with ways to make it look like we're all on strings and obviously not just have it be obvious that it's attached to something is the most annoying, frustrating thing to ever film. We have never put more effort into the practical effects of a film like that, and I really hope it's worth it, because that was a hell of a day to have to film all that in one, because oh my god, I've never more wished we had a proper budget. But hey ho.
Now you were talking about your friend John Aldridge, about him doing acting and directing. Now, I see, Leo, that you've got on to doing a film called, or a series called Dream State. Now, how did you get into doing Dream State? And walk us through what it's about.
So I first auditioned for Dream State when Kai, basically he has this group on Facebook called I think it's the Liverpool Performers and Actors group. And he posted this link that John was posting, basically saying, actors wanted for a short film piece. Can anyone wants to put their name forward? So it was being written by this guy called John Aldridge, who was doing some filming in December. Now, I just lost all my work in October. We were meant to be doing this big project last year, but then lockdown kicked in again. So I basically lost all my work for the month. So I thought, right, this could be something really good. So put my name forward, and I didn't get anything at first. I didn't get a response, which is honestly quite common when you put your name forward for things like that. Like half the time, people just don't respond to you because so many people are putting their name forward. And then, so I thought, right, well, I've obviously not gotten that part. And then a few weeks later, Kai messaged me saying, hey, real quick, next week, can you come in and do some filming for this guy? And I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds good. What's the role? And he goes, well, you have to basically wear a mini door on your face and look spooky. I was like, right, yeah, I'll do that. And so then I discovered it was the same guy. And apparently I'd spoken to him about it. I was like, I auditioned for this, and he went, really? I must not have noticed. So as the name sort of implies, it's basically a film series that's about dreams, weird dreams that people have had that he has written short films about. So they're meant to be this sort of surreal mixture of comedy and some thriller. So they're kind of like these almost weird cosmic horror movies that kind of where weird things happen to weird people, almost as if you are in a dream. And I'm starring as the main character in 2 of them. And in one of them, I'm playing a villain who is called Mr. Peacock, who is literally a man with a peacock for a head, which is as horrifying as it sounds. So they're not out yet, but they will be coming out online soon. Obviously, we're still filming them at the minute. So hopefully that'll come out and that'll be a really good series. But yeah, John Aldridge, he's made films like this before in the past, like 10 years ago. So if you can look up those old films, you can really get an idea of what kind of stuff he does. But he's a really good director, really easy to work with, and I really enjoy working with him.
Yeah, it's interesting that you should say that, because you've also had an eye for music, haven't you? Like you and Deck used to Deck used to get his guitar out and used to sing about Star Wars. Do you know when we did the Caucasian Chalk Circle?
That was the one, yeah.
And I'd come in the room and you and Deck would start singing, and Deck would look like a busker.
Yes.
And you'd be his front man.
Yeah.
And what inspires you to literally sing and him start playing guitar? What literally inspired you to like make that up on the spot when we all walked in?
Yeah, I think with that it was very much just because obviously the character was called Arcady the Musician, so he was meant to be this sort of musical character, and we were coming up with entertaining ways for us to segue into the next scene, because basically the idea behind that character was that he is the segue between these different scenes that happen in this play. So we wanted to basically go, right, how do we make this sort of, with our limited sort of access, because we're not musical theatre people really, so we were like, how do we just make this funny as well as like, you know, in a very sort of like, basically we wanted to create an effect of the audience are going to go, oh god damn it. So obviously the first time we just went, right, why don't we do like, because we do the Star Wars theme for the main one, so he would be like on his guitar like da da da, and I'd say my lines in tune with what he was saying, just to make it seem more hilarious and almost surreal and over the top. And I think the second song we did was like Highway to Hell, and we did like a little segue into that. I don't know if you remember, Harry, but there was like a bit where the scene just evolves into a rap battle, and Dex started playing on his guitar, and like all the characters are like reacting to what these two characters are saying, and it was really, really funny. So yeah, it came from a place of, our thought process for that was just, how do we make these segues just hilarious? You know, like not so much kind of how do we just kind of get to the next scene, more of a right, let's make this memorable, you know, let's make this funny. And so that's how we kind of stumbled on let's use the stupidest thing we can think of, which in this case was the Star Wars theme.
Yeah, because it's weird because you and Deck are into the same type of music as well.
Yeah,
and I remember coming into class once, and Deck would be playing like Johnny Cash, and you absolutely love Johnny Cash as well. And I remember you saying to me you love like classical music, don't you? Do you like Phantom of the Opera?
I've not seen it, but I've heard of it. I'm not into those kind of musicals. Those are a bit big for me. But I mean, What makes you? I mean, what inspires you to like Johnny Cash? Like, why do you like his music and stuff like that? Like, what inspires you to like it? I definitely have a taste for like sort of very not heavy like music. And when I say heavy, I don't mean like stuff that tackles. I mean like big, loud, kind of intense music. Whereas a lot of what Johnny Cash does tends to be just a bit calmer. And also, I think country is one of my musics that I really like, especially like American country, and he does a lot of that. So he just has very sort of Western inspired tunes, and I love sort of Western music. Like I love the old spaghetti westerns, like, you know, the music from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is legendary, and I just think it's so memorable and catchy. And that kind of music has always had a sort of a thing with me where I've just been like, oh, yes, whenever I hear it. So that's probably where the love of Johnny Cash comes from, just that attachment to that old sort of Western style, which really just gets me going.
It's weird because like music's always been a thing that people love. I mean, when we feel like shit, shall we say, it brings a whole different energy back up that we as humans like, and it's like music is like a drug in a way for us people, because it doesn't half make you feel good.
Oh yeah.
And especially if you listen to the right one. But for you like at Christmas time, you like recording albums, don't you? Like I remember in college, like you like recording albums. So elaborate on what Christmas albums you like to record at Christmas time.
So yeah, there's a place. It's not there anymore, I don't think. But well, it's in the process of being sold. But my family and friends have at times basically hired a place called Parr Street, which is a recording studio, and it began with a Christmas album, I think, all the way back in like 2005, and so I was very young back then. But then one year, when I was old enough, we started doing Christmas songs, and the ones I always really liked doing were the sort of classical Christmas songs. So not so much the ones that most people would know, like All I Want for Christmas Is You, all those kind of, modern sort of ones. I always preferred like the more classical sort of ones. So for example, In the Bleak Midwinter or Ding Dong Verily on High, those sort of those old Christmas carols, which I always love, just because for me they spark just a really nice joy in me, which I don't feel at any other time. Those are the sort of, like, everyone has their sort of thing that helps them get into Christmas. So for me, it's definitely carols. Plus, my grandfather used to sing in choirs quite a lot, and so he always had that musical side of classical and carol. So I'd often hear him sing sometimes and play his instruments, and that's, I think, where I get that liking from. So yeah, we have at times done these recordings where and we've just let it out. I'm probably one of the only people there who sings well, because the whole point is that we go there, get drunk, and then start singing, and it will be what it will be. Half the time it's not. It kills your ears. So because I'm the sober one there, I usually sing well, and everyone makes fun of me for being like, "You're not supposed to sing well," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I have to."
Because, I mean, like, when you say like Christmas carols, what kind of Christmas songs do you come up with? Because All I Want for Christmas Is You tends to be like a popular one, but then you must like look at all the Christmas songs and go, I don't want to do that because I don't want to class myself as the same as that. I want to do something different. So at Christmas time, when you come to record, do you all sit down in a group and do you all think about what kind of Christmas songs you would like to sing and like just reel off? Or what you do when it comes to recording your album?
No, normally it's very relaxed. It's not like a strict thing. It's literally just us all having a laugh. So we basically pick a theme and we stick to that theme. So the last recording we did was David Bowie. So because my family and myself are huge fans of David Bowie, so we were like, right, let's do David Bowie one. So everyone pick your favorite Bowie song or Bowie related song, and you can sing it. And that's normally it. It's completely your choice what you sing. So for example, for the Bowie one, I did The Passenger, which isn't Bowie, of course, it's Iggy Pop. But Bowie is in the background of that song. So, and he and Iggy went on tour with that song together. So it is a Bowie related song, which is how I flipped it, because I didn't know too many Bowie songs off by heart. I know almost none off by heart, except maybe Heroes. But that one was taken. So I was like, right, well, I'll do The Passenger then, because I like that song. So that's kind of the ruling for it. Basically, pick a theme and then pick your song, and it has to stick to the theme. Other than that, it can be whatever you want. And obviously don't do the same as someone else.
It's weird though when you say Bowie, because like when I spoke to you last when we were filming that short film, Fucked, you were telling me that you were writing a musical to do with David Bowie, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a musical; it more a play based off his song.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was that's still in the process of being written. That hit a bit of a pause recently, just because things are starting to go back to normal, and so people like our writer has to work in a full-time job, so time was just kind of not on our side. So that has been put on a pause for now. We're still working on it though. But over lockdown, yeah, I came up with the idea of, because if you listen to Heroes, there is a story in it. There's a story in it about this tragic romance, this doomed romance that is going to fail, and the characters in it are meant to be just the sort of not just awful people. Like so the lyrics I think for the guy are, I'll drink all the time, and he's talking about he's being an he's an alcoholic, he's a failed sort of artist, he's someone who's just shouting at God, really, and the woman is meant to be mean, is cheating on her husband. So these two people, like characters within Bowie's song, aren't meant to be good people. And so I thought, I really want to make a play out of this. I want to tell a story, the story that's within the song as I interpreted it. So, but I knew I wasn't the guy to sort of write it down. So me and my cousin Edward, who does theatre design, basically, and he was also a large Bowie fan and is very knowledgeable in the history of Bowie and his time spent in Berlin, which is where Heroes was produced. We got together and basically just went, right, what if we made a concept, a story based on this song? So to start off with, we highlighted all the sort of key notes in the lyrics and what the song tells us, and basically went, right, what can be the story threads? What can help us here? And eventually, with help from this really talented writer we got, who also worked in the Everyman youth group, he basically came up with this story set in I think it was 1987, that talks about the time when the Berlin Wall was still up, and it's all about these artists who are struggling, not in the East, which was a really interesting choice, which I didn't think of at the time, because we when you think Berlin, most people think West Berlin, which was the sort of more free part, the West part that had all the freedom and stuff. But we noticed that not a lot of people often talk about what's going on the East side. So we thought this would be a great opportunity to set it in a very gritty, sort of slightly what's the word I'm looking for? Suppressed time when the arts, especially in the East, were very controlled and very limited. And we thought, wow, imagine having these struggling characters in this environment who are just really kind of not terrible people, but are doing awful things. And we really wanted to tell that story. And, we thought that if only it would ever get Bowie's seal of approval, obviously not anymore, sadly. But, it was the idea of telling the story that's in this song. Because for me, the song was so important to me and as I grew up, because my mum was a big Bowie fan. And, so that was sort of my way of saying, this is what this song meant to me. It gave me this story, which I'm telling you now. So in a sense, what you're trying to say, Leo, is Heroes has had a lot of happy memories for you, like, especially because your family are big Bowie fans. Now, the concept of David Bowie, what is it? I mean, do your family like any other Bowie songs than just Heroes, or what is like the big concept behind why they like David Bowie as an artist? Is it because he's had loads of #1 hits, or is it because of the person he is today? So I think the Bowie connection comes from my mum, and she is there's no one who knows more about David Bowie than my mother. I'm telling you now. And she told me a story, I think, that when she was about 16, this is about when she first discovered Bowie, where basically she wasn't feeling too great. I think she was in a bit of a low place at the moment. And I can't remember if it was on the radio, but this song came on, and I think it was, I can't remember which, unfortunately, because I'm a terrible listener. And it was one of David Bowie's songs. And she remembers listening to it and just feeling such a strong connection to what the song was trying to say and what it meant, what it made her feel, that she just completely fell into it and fell into this person. And from that point, she basically was just like, right, I love this artist, I love this guy. And so she followed him all throughout, his sort of career, and just really absorbed herself with this individual and the songs that he did, and also really took note on how many people, because Bowie was, I would argue, is the biggest sort of most important influence on artists, especially modern ones who still take influence from. He's definitely been one of the most important influences on music as a whole, so, and he's had, so I guess the love for Bowie and the admiration and the connection we have to him all stems from that, just how big of an influence he was on people as a whole, and what his music really meant to us. Like, I mean, to me, his music just represents my growing up, you know, having listened to his songs and having listened to the songs that he inspired and the artists he inspired. So that's where the influence comes from, for me anyway, is that he was just such a positive influence on my life growing up. And so every time I hear his name or I hear one of his songs, I love it. You know, so we love all his music, not just Heroes. Heroes was just a personal favorite for me.
It's weird how David Bowie has touched a lot of people when it comes to like musicians, because you'd think like the likes of obviously the Beatles or Elton John, but like David Bowie has probably had one of the most like long wide connections, hasn't he, when it comes to like across the world? So like the likes of Belgium, Berlin, Netherlands. He's probably touched a lot of people when it comes to his music and what he wants to say. And for that, you probably and your family respect him more for that as well. I mean, do you respect him more for that? What do you think?
I have mad respect for David Bowie, just because of, not just because of, you know, what he did, but also because from everything I've seen of him, he was just a nice guy. You know, he seemed like a really nice sort of person who just wanted to make these really good songs. You know, I can't say that for certain, really, because I don't know. I am unfortunately limited in my knowledge with this, because I don't tend to dive too deeply into these sort of things. I more just listen to the music, and if it makes me feel good, then there you go. But, you know, I really do feel like my admiration for Bowie just does come from how if you look deeply enough, you just see how much music at that time and continues now to still be influenced by him and all this stuff he managed to do. You know, so there was a really good documentary, I think, a few months ago that it was 3-parter, and it did touch on the sort of life of David Bowie a bit, like going from when he first started out. Like, for example, the first, I think, like outrageous thing he ever did, which is kind of what got them attention, was basically he just went, "Hey, why don't we for our gigs, why don't we just wear makeup?" And the band were just like, "What?" And then he just went, "No, just wear makeup." And that became their thing. And like it was just those. The respect for him comes from the fact that a lot of the times, if you really look into it, it does just seem like him just going, "Hey, why don't we just do this?" And then everyone just kind of goes, "We could try." And then he does it. And then everyone immediately goes, "Well, we love that now." So just that essence of, why don't we just do this? Let's just not worry. Let's just do this weird thing and see if people like it. And then people just happen to like it. And then everyone was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
It's weird, because going back to what you're saying about I don't like take in what they're saying, it's more like I listen to the words and I get a good feeling for them. It's like when you see it in the charts nowadays, if you're into chart music and stuff like that, a lot of the charts like we go through and we listen to UK top 40, it's like most of the songs nowadays that we listen to are absolute bollocks. Like, it's just like, what is this? It's like it's not even catchy. And I go through a time in my life where I've probably listened to loads of songs, and I like music like anyone. Like I love all different types of music, but one thing as a person that you want to listen to a song and you want to connect to it, and you want to listen to it and think, I'm feeling positive vibes from here. Like I absolutely love what they're saying. But it's like all different types of genres of music. So you've got your R&B, which is like more relaxed. And then obviously you've got like your 70s as well. So like your 70s, like Bee Gees and stuff like that. But you were said, other than David Bowie, do you like any of the 70s music, or are you big on more the 80s music? Is that more your genre?
My musical taste, I'll be honest with you, my musical tastes are very vague. So like I don't attach myself to, I do like certain brands, but I don't like everything about those brands, if that makes sense. So a lot of what I do when it comes to choosing what music I like is that I basically, if I hear it and it sounds good, then I like it. But most of the time, it isn't because it's because of a certain genre. It's because that song in particular sounds good. Like I'm certain there's probably a lot of like stuff from like there's a lot of modern stuff which I listen to, which I just think is utter crap. You know, I listen to it and I go, it's the same song. It's the same song, just being sung by a different person. You know, like, but every so often there will be one where I'll just listen to it and go, oh, actually, no, that one sounds good. I'll keep a hold of that one. And yeah, so I'm less. I don't often focus on the artist so much, more the individual song. So obviously with Bowie and that is more just because that is everyone in my family just loves him, you know, and what he did. So that comes from more a personal family connection. Whereas me personally, I do often focus more on the songs. Just and it can be from anywhere. Like it doesn't really matter who's written it for the most part. So when it comes to specific eras of music, I don't focus on different genres and eras. I just or eras, as I should say. I literally just listen to what I think sounds good, and then I will add it to my playlist. I only have the one playlist. It's got like 200 something songs on it, and it's all random. Like none of it is connected, none of it is themed. You just go through it and go, right, that doesn't match up at all. But it's all stuff that I've literally just listened to and have been like, oh, that sounds good. I hope that's going in the list.
Yeah.
So sounds a lot like me actually. By the way, hello everyone. I've just woken up. We're joking.
Hello.
I've just been listening. So I'm very interested in how you articulate your points. I've just been sitting here listening for about 36 minutes. So I hope you don't think I was just asleep or anything. But the music thing you just described is just me, because I tend to have like big variations from movie soundtracks to classical to the Spice Girls to Steps, then back to like Rolling Stones, then to it's a weird mix. It's like when I put it on shuffle. And it goes from like babble, bitch,
yeah,
and it'll go. So take what you want, what you want.
If you want to be my lover.
Exactly.
I think this has happened to me so often where I've just been like, so I've been on like the bus and I'll be listening to something that it is just like, you know, because I'm the bad guy, and then it'll just cut to Irish jig or like the Kesh jig, the Kesh jig, which is just like this really like mellow Irish song, and I'll just be there like, what?
Oh yeah,
and I'm just used to it at this point.
It is funny though, because every time a really, really crazy song comes on, so when I'm surrounded by a group of people who think it's stupid, it's like I'll be listening to Eminem like going down the street or something, and then suddenly and I bit the gardener, Joe. Happy now. Go away. Stop it. Shut up. Oh, yes, I'm cool. I'm hip. But one thing I wanted to ask you, mate, because it has been playing in my mind, is that you seem so adapt and so changeable with your mediums and that. And no wonder lockdown doesn't seem to have affected you much. You've just been continuing, haven't you? There's been no let up. Yeah. You know, has anything really affected you recently? Are you feeling happy?
Lockdown, I think lockdown affected everyone in their own sort of way. I think if you could walk out of lockdown and not be affected, you are either a psychopath or, you know, some variant of superhuman. But for me, lockdown, it was more just that it felt like, I don't know how it felt for others, obviously, but for me, it was like time had stopped.
Yeah.
Like it felt like the entire world was on pause and nothing had purpose. Yeah. So there were no actions that I was taking that really added weight to my life.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it felt, honest to God, kind of, not to exaggerate it, but it was kind of felt like you just didn't exist.
Yeah.
And I've felt that before. Like there was a time, I think it was after BTEC had finished. It was the last year of BTEC, and I was moving on to uni. But we had like a 3-month gap when nothing happened. And you know, and I was like to myself, what am I going to do with myself during this summer? And I did nothing. So for 3 straight months, I literally didn't do anything. I didn't really have any motivation, despite the fact I was going into uni. I didn't have any sort of sense of where I was going, and it was horrible. Like I actually forgot so badly how time worked that I'd stopped keeping track of days.
Yeah.
So days just didn't matter anymore. Like someone could say to me, "Oh, it's Monday today," and I'd go, "I don't care." It feels like like
You
oh,
got,
is
you
it?
got that Friday feeling, not.
Yeah. It's like it literally is like, oh, it's Sunday, and I'm like, it feels like every other fucking day, and that's basically what lockdown was for me, times by hundreds, because you can't see people, and oh my god, that sucked. Like I'm an introvert, but I think by nature, like I have a certain limited number of moments where I have to be like, right, I need to kind of step away.
Yeah,
but like
totally agree.
to have absolutely no social interaction for the better part of a year is the worst feeling.
You're an artist. You need to feed off people's energies, and this is what I was going to ask you, because I felt to myself, I don't know about you, Harry, but for me, acting has always been a coping mechanism. Creating stuff has been a coping mechanism for whatever happened to me in life, grief, bullying, or whatever. For you, it sounds a lot the same. So I was wondering whether lockdown had really gotten to you, like in a way that hadn't happened before. Because you weren't in the industry, you weren't creative.
It was definitely a really brilliant time to finally graduate from uni and to become a fully fledged actor. It was it was so well timed. But I think it definitely felt like the creative stimulus was really draining. I think the one lucky thing I did have was that I am a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons, which in and of itself is
D&D.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that game with an absolute passion. So I did have some ways of, creating something. And I think actually it wasn't until about the first month or so into lockdown where it was actually, this is all thanks to my parents. God bless them. They've really helped me get through it. They basically said, what you could do if you're really struggling is that maybe make your own stuff. And my mum came up to me and she said, right, here's an idea. You want to, obviously, you need to start somewhere. Now, you can't go out for auditions. You can't go out for all that stuff. You can't get yourself out there. That sucks. So here's what you could do. Start an acting page and post your own. Yeah,
because you've got one, haven't you? You've got an acting page on Facebook.
Yeah, and Instagram.
We'll share the link on that on this below later on.
But so they were like, right, so here's an idea. Basically, record yourself on your phone or whatever, do monologues or read poetry out, something just to give you a reason to actually get a shower in the morning. And and just to kind of just wash yourself up and just make yourself feel like you're doing something that is giving you a sense of purpose. So as a result of that, I ended up creating my Instagram and my Facebook acting pages, and it really helped. Like there's a few videos on there of like my early lockdown stuff of just me reading out. I think I did a few poems by Yeats.
The Simon O'Cora as well. You did one.
Yeah. So it was just interesting characters, like Yeats. If you do his history, like a weird fellow. But anyway, but it was all just sort of that helped drive my creative stimulus. And then I think I've been talking about doing this, making this play a while back, and I have a terrible tendency of being all talk. Where I'm just like, yeah, let's do this, and then I'll be like, oh, great, let's do this, and I'll go, actually, I don't want to.
Fuck it.
that introvert nature again coming back to haunt.
Yeah, it literally is like, hey guys, why don't we do this? And then someone will go, that's a great idea, we should do that, and I'll go, actually, on second thought, now that you agree with me, I don't quite like it.
Yeah.
But then I was just like, then my mum was just like, Leo, talk to someone and just get out there. So many actors and so many writers from uni.
Thank God for your mum and dad.
They were just like, just for God's sake, just come on. And I just went, you know what? Okay, you're right. So I obviously got to my cousin Edward and went, Edward, let's make a play about David Bowie. And he was just like, I'm in it. And then we eventually had this writer called Alistair, who really good guy, a bit of more of a film actor than a theatre actor, but he was. I'd talked to him before. We had talked about, making stories potentially, and we worked with him. Sadly, he pulled away from the project just because he really felt like he couldn't get anywhere with it. But God bless him, he didn't leave us with nothing. He left us a really good synopsis, and a lot of the early work on the play is as a result of him. So he will get credited when the time comes.
Yeah.
But it was a brilliant. We were having weekly online meetings every week, and it was brilliant just to be able to talk about it, what we wanted, what ideas we had, where did we set it, what do we know, and it was amazing. I'd never felt like it before, and
that's your outlet as well. That's your complete outlet. That's what I was asking, because I thought, unlike most people, you're getting out there, you're using your creativity, and you've got so many different mediums to explore, and you seem so multifaceted in the way you do things. And I mean, you seem more theatrical than TV and film. Is that
definitely
safe to say?
Oh yeah, no, I always love theatre more than I do film. I think film.
And why is that? Is that because you can connect to an energy in the audience as opposed to TV?
I think so. That's part of it. I like the energy of it, and also, I think it comes from. I like the fear of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah. Like I am always nervous before every play. I used to get really bad. So I Harry mentioned before, when I played Captain Hook in Peter Pan, like that was our first proper stage show. Yeah, and I threw up backstage. I literally was like, all right, let's do this. Nope. And
I don't remember you throwing up though. I literally did it.
That's because I did it discreetly.
He was keeping his game face, mate.
Yeah, I literally was just like, because I was about to go on, I was just like, oh shit, I need to, and I had to do it quite discreetly so no one saw. Yeah. But now, I don't obviously get, but I do kind of, I'm stood there like,
you're channeling it really well.
The best thing for me to do is pace.
You say you're introvert, and you're sort of like me in that way. You sort of like you don't want to do it, but you want to do it at the same time. And then it's that tug of war between the two feelings before it impels you on. And then it's like a roller coaster. You're going up and up, and then you're down, and you love it.
Yeah, the biggest problem I tend to have in relation to that is, I don't know if you have the same, but when you get stuck in a system, like a regular sort of occurring system. So, for example, lockdown, not doing anything every day. When you get into that, you get stuck.
Yeah,
exactly. So and you completely lose momentum. And the difficult thing about that isn't so much being stuck in the hole; it's more the getting out.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, once you take that step out, you're out. But the first step takes so much effort.
Well, it's like getting stuck in the mud, isn't it? Trying to get the momentum to propel yourself forward. It's tough when you're stuck there.
Yeah. Like, I think, again, this goes back to that sort of point. The worst thing about lockdown really was the loss of momentum, because at the end of lockdown, I graduated uni, and I was basically like, right, I'm going to set up my Spotlight page. I'm going to get myself out there. I'm going to learn how to drive. Yeah. Post-uni, here we come. Yeah. And then the entire world just went, no, we're stopping. We're pausing. And then I'm just like, but I've got momentum. And they were like, yeah, sorry, mate, we're going on pause. And then you just kind of like, you sit down and all that energy just leaves. So that's what happened to it. That's just what happened to a lot of people who were just like, how do we get out of this? Like,
it's sorted out the men for the boys, isn't it? Really, who's got what it takes to really create the way out of this situation? And you've definitely got that in spades, I can tell.
It felt right. And as I say, music is such a big part of that. I think just going off that, I don't know how you guys feel, but I think of all that, especially you mentioned before film soundtracks. I love film soundtracks.
Yeah, me too.
So
Which one?
much.
What's your favorite?
Oh,
Star Wars. It's a stupid question, but
I know.
What really stands out? Because sometimes I just go, "Oh, I've got to listen to that right now." That soundtrack. Do you know what I mean?
I think, honestly, there are like it's not a soundtrack in particular. It's a specific song from a soundtrack. Yeah. It is the Riding of the Harem from Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, I used to love the soundtrack to that. I listened to it for yonks.
Yeah, it is one of my absolute favorite pieces of music. Just because every time I watch that scene, I get goosebumps. I'm literally just there, like when Theoden King is just like, shields will be splintered, and the music kicks in, there's the charge. The entire time, I'm just like, I am basically just out my seat, just like, yeah, let's fight those orcs. And I'm like, it's not real. You know, yeah, like so. It is just kind of like that is one of the songs I'm just like, oh yes, you know, just those kind of things where I just music that gets your spine tingling. Where I'm just like
atmospheric, isn't it? Atmospheric stuff that you can picture without even seeing the scene. You know it's from that particular scene, and oh god, I'm way up there with you. That I love that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that is so important. Like I think about that, and the thing to think about, as to say, you know, if anyone says, "Is it really impacted that much?" I'll challenge anyone to go like, right, think about a scene from a film or TV series you love. Yeah. Then, depending on what scene it is, imagine that scene is like the way it is, but without any music. Guarantee you, unless it's a silent scene, it's not gonna have the same impact. I imagine the charge of the Rohirrim without music, and all I think is just a bunch of horses, isn't it?
There's no wrong with a bunch of horses.
It's just a bunch of horses running.
Horses for main courses.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of horses. It's just a bunch of dudes screaming.
It's Lloyd's TSB now.
Yeah, Lloyd's TSB advert.
Yeah, and like that's the thing. Even songs that have like arguably awful lyrics, everyone's got the. That's the question I guess I'll pose to you guys as to what is your song that is a bit of a guilty one of just it's such a bad song, but also it's kind of catchy. Because I've got a few.
So many.
I've got a few. I'm just like the lyrics to this are awful, but also the song is really good.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
It's like what you were saying before about your creativity and song-wise as well. It must be hard to try in. It's like going off topic of like when you want to create a film and you think what song would fit into that film. Because I've got a piece here that I've written, but what song would go into that film? So like, you know, if you like, for example, you watch Marcella and with Anna Friel and you listen to like the track of that, it's so like sinister and it just like fits that. But then if you listen to like any other like soundtrack, like Indiana Jones, it's like, I mean, what do you think, Indiana Jones? Do you think Indiana Jones songs are catchy or soundtrack wise?
I think they're iconic.
It's action related, isn't it? It's about and it's being chased, and it's about adventure, and that's what that soundtrack promotes.
Yeah, those kind of. I think there's a big difference between. So, like for example, take Suicide Squad. You know, like that soundtrack is just a bunch of songs. Like it's not. Actually, there's a really good video that talks about why that failed and why other films that incorporate that style succeed, and that's because
I'd like to see that actually.
Yeah, so there's
Go on, Leo, elaborate on that one.
So basically, where a film like that kind of fails with this music is that it just takes the songs and just throws them in without any sort of context or meaning behind it. Like it's only meant to say, "Oh, look, this kind of song is playing. You must feel this emotion." Whereas
that's manipulative.
Whereas say for example, perfect example, Shrek 2. If you think about Shrek, no, but seriously, if you think about Shrek 2, like how much of that movie's soundtrack is just songs that are already like by Smash Mouth and people like that, and yet one of the best songs in that movie is its version of "Holding Out" by A Hero. I think anyway. Like for anyone who hasn't heard it, great song, go listen to it. But like the reason that version really works, where say a version like Suicide Squad fails, is because that incorporates its own spin on the song and makes it its own. As opposed to just throwing the song in for effect. It takes its aspect of its own soundtrack, applies it to these songs, and thus creates a more iconic sort of look. So I think it shows that you can't just throw in music to be like, look, feel this emotion.
A lot of things are composed. I mean, look at The Truman Show. The Truman Show actually articulated this really well, where you could see them manipulating his life and then composing the music as it's being played out. So literally, it did be a crescendo during an emotional scene or slapstick music. And this is the thing that I think a lot of the movies these days have lost that artwork, that artistry between just putting a song in and just composing a piece of music just for the film. Do you know what I mean? I think it's missing that point. But I do love a lot of soundtracks from the 80s and early 90s. We know, especially with the sci-fi elements. I love Star Trek, the original Star Trek themes, like the Wrath of Khan and stuff like that. There's a lot of Jeopardy there. But we've only
Yeah.
got 5 minutes, Harry. So you're gonna have to wrap it up a little bit now, and let Leo do his thing.
Yeah, so if you guys have enjoyed watching us doing this music interview will be live or pre-recorded 7:30 Friday on Facebook. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Stevens, as well. Facebook, make sure you check out my Facebook, Stevens' Facebook, and Leo's Facebook, because Leo's got some interesting acting stuff on there. So if you guys have liked this video today, like, comment, and subscribe. Yeah.
Can I
As far
just
as
ask
other-
Leo? Would you be willing to come back for part 2? Because there's so much we didn't cover in this.
Yes,
I would love to hear more.
I'm very much willing to come back for part 2.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
I want to know more about you. You're a fascinating character. It's been good to get to know you today.
Well, as an actor, I of course have a massive ego and love talking about myself. So.
and I love to hear about it, mate. I love to hear about it.
Yeah, as the thing, it's just the classic thing, is it? I'm an introvert until I start talking about me. At which point, I'll go.
Yeah,
I'll
well,
go for
obviously, I mean, we'll do another part 2 on Harry's, and then we'll do a part on mine as well. Because I'd love to dig a little deeper into you personally, your personality, and what makes you tick. So,
Well, I'd love to come back.
you will do. Anyway, Harry, go on, do your thing.
Yeah, that's what I needed to say. So it's been enjoyable having you on, Leo. You're such an interesting guy, and I hope you do really well with your acting. And good luck with your driving.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
And take care now. Bye.
Bye.